was understood.
It's well understood, yeah? Okay. So for those of you who did not understand it, you can always refer back to the video. I'll upload all the videos here so that you can go over them. Yeah, I'm sure you'll be able to understand it. Okay, so we're going to do one more question on limiting factor decision. So this question is also mixed with make or buy. Okay, so usually limiting factor question comes with make or buy. So it's usually mixed with make or buy decisions. Okay, so the question is example 7. Can you refer to example 7, please? Example 7. Example 7. So we're going to open a new sheet. Okay, so this whole file will be sent to you, like I said. So we're going to open a new sheet and call it example
7.
7.
XYZ, double XYZ limited.
Excellent. So we just call it EG7. In fact, the previous one should be EG7, EG6. I'll revise that. So EG7 WXYZ limited, WXYZ limited, WXYZ limited, example 7. So this one should say example 6. So I just double click on it. I change the 7 to 6. Okay, so this is what we have now. Okay, so can we look at the question and try to read it? Okay, so make sure you have it handy. Make sure you have it handy. So I'll read. W, X, Y, and Z makes 4 products. Product W, X, Y, and Z, for which costs and sales in the next year are expected to be as follows. The sales unit for each of them, direct material cost, direct labor, to have our total prime cost, we have the sales price, and then we have the contribution. That's the selling price less the prime cost. The company is having difficulty of obtaining the materials. Okay, what does that tell you? What does that tell you? It's saying the company is having difficulty of obtaining materials. What does that mean?
Is there a limiting factor?
That means materials are the limiting factor because they are finding it difficult to, how to call it, get materials. Okay? Right. So each product uses the same material and only one type of material is used in the manufacture. The expected available materials next year are what? 11,000 kilograms. What does that mean? We agreed that materials are the limiting factor. So it's saying that since they are the limiting factor, what is available is 11,000. Okay, so the material cost is £5 per kilo. An overseas manufacturer is willing to supply the items to the company at the following costs per unit, including delivery. Okay, cost to buy, we have 20 for W, 11 for X, and so on. Required. Which items should the company make internally, and which items should it buy from an external manufacturer? Okay, so this is a typical make or buy decision that is blended with limiting factor. Okay, so this is what we're coming to look at. This is what we're coming to look at. All right, so we go to our question. Can you see my blank spreadsheet? Can you see it?
Yes, sir, we are seeing it.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So we're going to start answering. So as usual, I'll start from B2, and the company name will be WXYZ Y, and Z limited. Okay? And the name of the statement will be what? What will be the name of the statement? What will be the name of the statement? Based on the requirement. The requirement says which items should the company make internally, and which items should it buy from an external manufacturer.
I think it should be make or buy statement of make or buy decision.
Statement of make or buy decision, yes. Even though it's mixed with limited factor, yes, we could adequately call it statement of make or buy decision. Okay, STATEMENT, statement of make stroke buy decision. So that's correct. Now, so let's do our frame. You know, it's really important to do your frame. That will allow you to plug in the numbers easily. Okay, so presentation is very, very important here. So in order to present well, you have to lay a solid framework. Okay. So we have 4 products, so that means we're going to have 4 columns, and then the 5th one will be our details column. Okay, so we leave the first one as the detail column. We're going to expand it. Then we have W, we have X, we have Y, and we have Z. Okay. So these are the columns. So now we could, we're going to get numbers on them. Okay. So we can format them, let's say to 3 decimal place. We can format them to 3 decimal place. So we could highlight all the 3 columns. First, we want to align them to the right. So we highlight all of them. And then we go to format, alignment to the right. Okay. Whilst we highlight all of them, we could reduce the column sizes. We could reduce the column sizes by just clicking and dragging and contracting just one of them. Okay, so that will do for all of them. And then whilst we are there, we still go to format, number, we take our financial, and we try to reduce the decimal place to 0. Okay, so we're trying to prepare our format even before entering anything. Okay, so this time around, we are not going to do step 1, step 2, step 3. We're going to put everything together. So the first thing we do is to determine our limiting factor, isn't it? Okay, we always start with that. So to determine our limiting factor, the first thing we do is we calculate our requirements and find out what is available, and we find the difference. Okay, so first things first, what is limited here? In this question, what is limited?
The materials are limited.
The materials are limited. Okay, so our limiting factor is the material. Okay, good. Our limiting factor is the material. So since we know that materials are limited, we need to find out how many kilograms of materials are used, how many kilos of material are required, and what is available. Then we find the gap. Okay, so we find the gap. Okay, so we have our units. Okay, so what are our units? For W is 2,000. For X is 4,000, 3,000, and 1,000. Okay, so let's take them back to 2 decimal place. Sorry, to 0 decimal place. Okay, by highlighting them and clicking on the arrow pointing to the left with a 0.0. Okay, that's the icon we click in order to reduce the decimals. Okay. So we have our units. Now, in order to calculate our total kilogram of materials, we need to multiply the unit by what? The material kilograms per unit, isn't it? Yeah, the material kg per unit. Okay. So we have already been given the number of kilograms that we need for each unit. Okay. So in order to produce 1 unit of W, how many kilograms of material do we need?
10 kg.
The 10 kg in the question is what? Is the direct material cost. That's the cost. That's not kilogram.
Okay.
That's cost. That's not kilogram. How do we get the kilogram?
We divide 5 by 20.
We'll divide
the cost 5
by 10.
Yeah.
Okay. Why do we divide 5 by 10? The reason why we divide 5 by 10, in order to get the material cost per unit, 2 figures are responsible. One, the kilogram that you need to produce 1 unit multiplied by the cost of that kilogram. Okay, and we've been given in the question that the material costs £5 per kilo. So now our next part is how many kilos do we need to produce each of them. So in order to get that, we have to divide by 10. Because if we had the number of kilos that we require for each unit, we'll multiply that by the cost per kilo. Okay, so therefore, if that is not available, is the total unit cost of material divided by the price to give us our kilo. Okay, is that clear? So the first one is going to be 10 divided by 5. So actually, all of them is going to be divided by 5. Okay, so what we're going to do is I will just create one column here. I'll just create one column here. So this will be my working. Also, I'll just put 5 here. I'll just put 5 here so that I can use 5 to divide by each of them. Okay. Right. So I'll just call the first. I call this first column as workings. Okay? So this will just be my rough workings. So I'll just put 5 here so that I want to use how to call it the 10 divided by this 5 for all of them. So the same thing, after clicking the 5, we press F4 because 5 is going to remain fixed for all of them. Then we replicate. If we replicate, it's going to give us the same because we are using 10. So we need to change. So 10 is the first one. The second one is how much? 5, isn't it?
5.
The second one is 5.
The third one is 7.5.
The third one is 7.5.
Yeah.
7.5.
The fourth one is 12.5.
And the fourth one is 12. The fourth one is 12.5. Okay, look at them. It's given 222. But because we did not do the decimal, so we can do 1 dp for each of them. So we highlight all of them and just increase it to 1 dp. So that nicely gives us 2.0, okay, 1.0, 1.5, okay, and a 2.5. Okay, is that clear? So you have 2, 1, 1.5, and 2.5. Okay, so now let's calculate our total kilos. Total kg. So our total kilos will be the unit multiplied by the number of kilos per unit. And we just click OK. So we have 4,000, 4,000, 4,005, and 2,005. So we calculate our total. Yeah, we can create a total column here. We can create another column called total. So we just do our total here. So what formula should we put here in order to calculate our total kg for W to Z?
You can say equals to.
Lie down. All the stress isn't good for you. I'm just too worried.
Okay, so we say equals sum, bracket opens, then we highlight everything up to the last.
Can you please mute your mic?
So we have 15,000. Okay, so what's the total kilogram available? Total kg available. What's the total kg available?
11,000.
11,000. Okay, 11,000. And what is the limiting factor? The limiting factor is the difference, which is the 15 minus the 11. So we could make the whole column to 2DP. So we select financial and reduce the DP. Okay? So the limiting factor is 4,000. Yeah, so we also align the total column to the right. Okay, are we following? Are we following?
Yeah, we are, Mr. Fofana.
We are not so far from the house that taxi.
Okay. So now we can move on to do the, how to call it, the actual calculation. And those calculations, the starting point will be to compare the variable costs of making and the variable cost of buying. Because the question asks us to advise management which products they should buy and which products they should make, okay? So because the question asks for that, this time around, we're not going to calculate contribution per unit, contribution per scarces. No, that's not what the question is asking for. The question is asking for advice as to which products should be made internally and which products should be bought, okay, based on the limiting factor, okay? So the next step should be to calculate our variable cost of making. We compare it to our variable cost of buying, and then we'll find the difference, the extra cost of buying. So those extra cost of buying will not be where that should not be used as a yardstick to take decision when it comes to our optimal production plan, but the extra cost per scarce resource. Just like we use our contribution per scarce resource to take our optimal production plan decision. The same thing here, okay? So we can bring these columns here just to get a feel of them. So we say equals, we just click on there. So we drag so that all of them can appear here. Okay, if we want, we can just do it below the headings, but if we do it here, the headings will be, they will appear a lot better here. Okay, so we still have the same products, W, X, Y, and Z. Okay, and like I said, we have to look at our variable cost per unit of making. Then we look at our variable cost per unit of buying. Then we compare. So I say VC unit of making, okay, and the variable cost per unit of buying. Are we following? So what's the variable cost per unit of making? As per the question, is given in the question. All of them are given in the question. So go to the question. The total variable cost of making for W is how much?
For W is 17.
For W is 17. Okay. For X?
7.
7. For Y?
What?
12. And for Z?
12.
19. Excellent. What about the variable cost of buying? We've been given them at the last table at the bottom. The cost of buying for W is how much?
20.
20.
20.
20. 11.
15.75.
15.75.
Come on. Let's go. Come on, guys.
Who is watching Gary?
I just love you so much, God. That's why I want to give you.
Hadi, are you listening to movie or what?
I'm sorry, Mr. Fuban. I didn't know that my mic was on.
So you know with us, you are watching movie or what?
Of course, I am with you. I am following you.
This crazy thing that you're doing.
Oh, okay. Okay, fine. Okay. Right. Good. Okay. So let's move. Right. So we have 20, 11, 15.75, and 22. The reason why they are not appearing is because we have not taken them to the right decimal place. So we could do that. So the easiest way is, since we have already got that here, so we could just highlight here and then use the pen brush. So we click, look at it. This is the pen brush, format painter, okay, or pen format. So we click that, then we come and click here. You see, it has taken us to 1 dp. We click it again, and then we replicate it here as well. So that has also taken us to 1 dp. So now nicely we have 20, 11, why 15.8? Oh, because it's 1 dp. Okay, not 2 dp. So we need to take it to 2 dp. So we highlight all of them and then increase the decimal point. Okay, so this is what we should get to 2 dp. So let's find the difference. We know when you look at this, it's cheaper to make in W, cheaper to make in X, cheaper to make in Y, cheaper to make in Z. So it's cheaper to make in all instances, isn't it? The unit cost of making is cheaper than the unit cost of buying. But are we able to make all of them in-house? Are we able to do that?
No.
Why?
No, we are not, because we have insufficient material.
We have insufficient kilos of material. Okay, so because of that, we cannot make everything in-house. So, but we know it's cheaper making it in-house. So now, if we have to make some in-house and we have to buy some from outside, okay, logically, which one should we buy from outside and which one should we make in-house? Logically, without knowing any accounting knowledge, without having any accounting knowledge.
maybe logically, Mr. Buona.
Huh?
W and Z can be what?
No,
W
no, no,
and
no,
Z
no,
can be
no,
what?
no, don't talk about the specific products. But I just asked you a question. Let me frame it. Let me just put it into everyday life. Uh, um, let's assume that you have a party. Okay, let's assume that you have a party. Okay, the party, you cannot naturally make all the food, all the kinds of dishes that you need for the party. Okay, so you have an option to either prepare some of the dishes at the house, and some of the dishes you have an option to buy them from a caterer. Okay, so assuming that it's the same kind of how to call it stuff, you know, when it comes to the food. Okay, logically, if you have to buy from a caterer, which ones do you think you should buy? The ones that should cost you more or the ones that should cost you less?
One,
You have an option. Let me frame it again. You have an option to prepare your own dish, okay? But you have an option also to buy. But naturally, because you lack space, maybe chicken space or particular, how to call it, the ingredient type, you cannot make everything in-house, okay? You cannot prepare all the dishes. So if you have to get from a caterer outside, which ones are you going to get? Is it the ones that's going to cost you more or the one that's going to cost you less?
The one that will cost you more.
The one that will cost you more, you have to get that from the outside caterer. Is that what you said?
Yes.
The one that's going to cost you more.
Yeah, the one that will cost you more, you get that from the outside caterer. And then the one that will cost you less, you do that. You make that on your own.
Is that prudent? Do you agree to that, class?
I think it's the opposite way around, because the ones that are expensive you can make it, and the ones that are cheaper you can buy it.
Yes. Naturally, if you have to buy, nobody wants to buy something that's expensive. So if you have an option to buy and make, naturally you will definitely want to buy the ones that are cheaper. Okay? So the ones that are more expensive, you want to do them within your capacity. You want to prepare those dishes in your house. So the ones that are cheaper, you buy them. Natural. So
Mr. Fofana, it depends on the material that you're using to make those products, right?
yes, in this case, we assume that all the materials are of the same quality. That's
Okay,
a
now I'm
fast
getting
one.
it. If at all there's like if the materials were not the same, sometimes you take the one that is more expensive to so outsource it than buying the cheaper one, than making the
Yeah.
cheaper one.
But
Yeah.
here we are assuming that they all have the same quality. So it's
Yeah.
assuming they all have the same quality. Naturally, you will want to buy the one that's going to cost you less to buy, isn't it?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, good. So we having understood that, so we're going to use the same concept here. So let's find our extra cost of buying. Extra cost of buying. This is going to be more expensive to buy in each situation. So we'll take the extra cost of buying. So the buying price less the making price. So we have like that. Okay. So just locate that. Okay. So the extra cost of buying will be what? The extra cost of buying will be 3, 4, 3.7, and 2.5. Okay. Is that clear? So now, this is not what we use to take decision when it comes to optimal production planning. Okay, this is not what we use. But what we use is the extra cost of buying as a result of the limiting factor. And the limiting factor is the material. So what we use is the extra cost of buying per kilogram of material. Okay, just like we have done in our previous example, the contribution per scarce resource. Same thing here. Is that clear? Is that clear? Okay. So in order to calculate that, we have to bring our material kilogram per unit. So we can just bring it forward here just to remind us. And we just drag. Okay. So we don't need this one. Okay. So this is what we're going to use to calculate our extra cost per limiting factor, because our limiting factor is the material kilogram per unit. Are you following?
Yes,
Yeah,
we are.
yeah.
Okay, excellent. So now let's calculate our extra cost of buying per kilo. So we have our extra cost of buying. Just paste that. If something is available, why do you have to type it again? So extra cost of buying per kilo. So I just copied it and make some changes.
Yes, Mr. President.
Yes. Okay. So the extra cost of buying per kilo. So how do we calculate the extra cost of buying per kilo? The extra cost of buying per kilo. How do we calculate it here? Extra cost of buying per kilo. How do we calculate it here? Are you with me?
Just
Yes, you want to try, Hadi? The extra cost of buying per kilo is very simple. It's the extra cost of buying divided by the kilo per unit. So that's equals the extra cost of buying divided by that. Okay, so we replicate that. We take it to the required DP, as you can see here. Okay, so the extra cost of buying per kilo will be 1.5 for W, 4 for X, 2.5 for Y, and then 1 for Z. That's the extra cost of buying per limiting factor. And this is what we're going to use to determine. So since we all agreed that logically, if we have given the choice to make or buy, we will naturally make what is more expensive in-house and then buy what is cheaper. The reason is, if you don't make the most expensive one in-house, you will still have to pay for that spare capacity. Okay? So it is prudent in this scenario to make in-house the most expensive products and then outsource the ones that are cheaper. Okay? That will give you a better optimal production planning. Okay? Is that clear? So now what we do is we do our ranking. So how should we do our ranking? Our ranking should be based on the product with the highest
Towards us?
extra
From you.
cost per kilo to be what? To be made first, followed by the second highest, and so on and so forth. Are we following?
Yes, we are.
So we have our ranking. Yeah, so the same thing, we use the rank formula. Yeah, bracket opens. Bracket opens. Bracket opens. So I just okay. So let's proceed. Sorry about that. I got a call. So so we say equals rank. So which cell do we click? Can you tell me the cell reference? D19. We have a comma. And the data starts from where?
From D19
Very
to
good.
D19.
D19. And what do we do to it?
Simple life.
We press F4 to make
All
it.
that's happened.
We
Why
close
did
the
you
bracket.
think it was possible?
We make it
Why is
absolute.
it so
We
hard
press
to make
F4
it happen?
to make it absolute. Okay, and then in order for it to rank in descending order, we type 0, and then we close the bracket, we enter. So we drag. So now look at it. The first one will be X, the second one will be Y, the third one will be W, and Z. This is in terms of, so this is ranking or making decision. Okay? So we're trying to rank so that we'll be able to know which product to make or which product to buy. So we're going to rank it based on which one to make first. So we all agreed the one that we're going to make naturally will be the most expensive one per limiting factor. The most expensive one per limiting factor may not necessarily be the one that is the most expensive one per extra cost. Just like we have seen on our contribution per unit. The contribution per unit is not the yardstick that is used to Fabrama, mbe call mbe class. I'll call you after. Okay, let me put my mobile off. Just getting to it. Okay, sorry about this. Right. So we all agreed that the ranking will be based on the most expensive one that we're going to how to call it that we're going to make. Okay. So the most expensive one will be the ones that will be made, followed by the next, and so that the cheapest one will be the one we'll have to buy from and outside, so that we don't pay much money. Is that clear? As accountants, we are concerned with cost. Okay? So as such, whatever decision we give to management must be the best possible decision. Okay? So now that we got the ranking, the first one we're going to make will be X, which has got which is the most expensive to buy at £4 per kilo. Then followed by product Y, which is the second most expensive, 2.5 per kilo. And then the third one will be 1.5, which is W. And then the fourth one will be Z. Okay. Yeah, so now we're going to do our optimal production plan based on this. Okay, so but before that, I don't want the videos to be too long. Let me just stop this and then I'll start another.